Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and this is going to be part 3 of the little 1960s one valve wonder little trash to treasure series. And what I've been doing, I've been fiddling about with that little Velleman amplifier that we're going to be using in this project. Basically what I've got here, in fact you don't need to see my ugly mug. I'll get you zoomed down on the bench here and I'll just show you what really basic setup I've got hooked up here. So we'll just get you zoomed down onto the bench. Oops, other way. Right, here we go. And hopefully you can see what we've got here. Let's see if we've got everything in shot. Right, so basically what I've got that little Velleman amplifier here with them little kit amplifiers. I've actually got the tone arm just loosely hooked up here. So I was having a bit of a play and seeing how much volume you can get out of it just literally by driving the cartridge straight off the driving the amp straight off the cartridge. And it's actually surprised me, you can actually get quite a bit of volume, more than I was expecting, to be fair. So we'll get one of the little cartridges. Like I said, these, I believe they're a Chinese copy of a Japanese Diodenchi cartridge. These are dirt cheap. I buy them from China by like, I think the last lot I got, I think like 15 for, it was like £25 for 15 of the things delivered, including a stylus. And it's one of the better styluses if you've ever come across these. The really cheap one actually have a plastic suspension just with the sapphire fixed in at the end. These ones I think are actually a diamond. They actually have a proper metal. I'll show you, let me just get you a bit closer. So hopefully you can make this out. Oops, let's get you in there. So these ones seem to be a little bit better. Let's come on, focus. Than the really cheap ones, because they actually do have a metal suspension and a little bit of rubber at the end. The really cheap ones of these cartridges, it's all plastic. Even the little arm there is plastic with just a sapphire set into the end of it. So even though these were like dirt cheap, they still have the slightly better stylus in them. But no, this actually surprised me quite a lot. I'll just give you a quick demo. Now, I will say we'll probably get a lot of buzz and hiss off this, because this amplifier, we've got no screening at all or anything here. It's literally just a really quick lash up, and the power supply I'm using hasn't got a lot of filtering on it, so that's going to cause quite a bit of buzz. But it will at least give an idea of what output we're getting from there. So we've got the little Velleman amp. We've got, this isn't going to be the speaker I'll use in the record player, this is a slightly dinged up one, but it's basically the same speaker as we're going to use in the record player. We've got it all connected up now. I'm just going to get some power up it. Let's have a look there. Here we go. And just show you how much of the kick we're actually getting out of that cheap cartridge. Now, if you can hear that, that is literally being picked up off the power supply from my camera, so unfortunately there's nothing at all I can do about that. But if I touch the end here, there's actually a fair bit of... in fact, I wonder if I switch my... that doesn't help a lot. There's just that much switch mode interference, but you can hear. Just disconnect that now. You actually get a surprising amount of output. Like I said, we've got no preamplification in there at all. That is just, and that is only one side of the cartridge. I've literally just connected. I'll just switch my AM back on because we might need that in a minute. I have just connected one side of the cartridge up there. what we should be able to do is actually use both sides of the cartridge, connect them in series and get a little bit more power yet out of it. In fact, we might just try that now before we do anything else. So, because this, fortunately, this arm that we're using, even though it's off a cheap, nasty one valve wonder record player, it was amazingly, it was actually wired for stereo. So what we'll do is we'll connect up the other side of the cartridge. Like so. Make sure that those are they're on okay. We'll just leave the cartridge down at that one side there, and now what we'll do, these are the other two wires from the cartridge we've got here. So this is just a bit of experimentation, just a bit of messing around really. We'll separate those two. Now what we should be able to do is disconnect, if we disconnect the black from there, from the input to the record player, we connect that yellow one in its place, and then we connect that black to that blue. We should have both, basically both stereo channels wired mono, but in series rather than in parallel, which should give us a little bit of an amplification boost coming off the cartridge. So let's give that a try. Right, so we've got those stripped. Let's get the iron. I'll tin these up. These don't have to be good connections really or anything. This is just a quick lash up. And we disconnect. And we reconnect. What did we say? We said yellow, didn't we? Because yellow's the other ground. So connect that up to there. Obviously, if you're doing it properly, you don't just go blob the connections on like that. But as we are just testing at the moment, it's fine. Solder those two together. Did we get a good join there? Yeah, I think we did. Okay, so basically, if we try this again now, we should have both sides of that cartridge wired up, and we should get a little bit more volume out of it, out of the output when I touch the cartridge. Obviously, we're still going to get all the horrible hash noises, unfortunately. There's not a lot I can do about that. But if we touch the cartridge, and here we've got a fair bit more actual output out of that. What I think we might do now, just for a test, is we might actually, instead, I've built this preamplifier here, which is probably what we're going to end up using in the final design. But I fancy seeing if we can just get this record player to at least play a record before we actually start messing about with that. So what I'm going to do, we'll look at mounting that cartridge there into the actual head shell, and then we might just basically just lash this up in the actual record player, reattach the tone arm, and see whether we can actually play a record on it, see how much output we can actually get out of this as it is, and then obviously we'll have to have a look at perhaps putting the preamplifier that I knocked together in. Still lots and lots to do on the electronic side of this, and then obviously we've got to look at building a power supply for it and all other fun things. But first thing I think we should do is actually look at seeing if we can mount up that cartridge into this head shell. Now the thing is that the original cartridge that went into this head shell would have been held, it's you don't actually see them all that often in the UK. I think they're a lot more common in the US. Basically, it doesn't use any clips inside. Here it's held on through the little turnover knob, which would have been on the front there. There is, well, here's a more standard BSR arm. You see it has a hole through the centre there, and that's how most of these older style arms worked. Basically your cartridge was held in there, the screw went through the centre, and that held it in place. Now, believe it or not, you can actually get that style holder for these modern cartridges. The problem is that those holders actually cost a lot more than the cartridges do. I'm guessing they are for like the proper cartridges, not these knockoffs, but can't really justify that for something like this. So generally, if I want to use one of these cheap cartridges in something like this, I make my own cartridge adapter, and I'll show you basically how I do it. Now, I've just dropped what I do it with. I've got it here. What I do is I get some plastic like this. Basically, how I get this is any old TVs or any consumer electronics that I end up scrapping. If they're nice, flat, useful bits of plastic on it, I usually cut them out and throw them in a box. So I've always got pieces of plastic like this lying around it. I mean, it's probably around about the 2mm thickness, and this is ideal for making a little adapter for this. What we're going to do now, it doesn't matter really how you're going to cut this. You've got probably recommend a hacksaw, Dremel, something like that, but I've got away in the past with these really heavy duty scissors actually. And what we want to do, say this is about 2mm thick, and we want 3 pieces of this. So what we'll do is we'll cut off, and what you want them about 15mm wide by, say, about, well, just longer than the cartridge really, so about 25mm long by about 15mm wide. So it depends on what head shell you're doing it for, how big you actually make the adapter. But let's just I'll just cut 3 pieces of this off. Probably just do that off camera because I need to, it is a bit stiff for going through these scissors, but you can just about do it. There we go, that's 1 piece. And want another piece about the same. So you can go to file all this and do it really neatly, or you can just rough it out. Honestly, it depends depends on how you're feeling. So that's 2 pieces, and then we want another piece. Okay, there we go. We've got 3 pieces of plastic there. So they're roughly about 15mm wide by about 25mm long. In fact, these have a little flappy tab on them, which I'm just going to remove. So we just trim that off. Right, the next thing you want to do, you want to take one of them. So if you look together, they go about the same size. Take one of them, and you want to take about 6 or 7mm. Yeah, I'd say about cut one down to say about 20mm. So none of this has to be devastatingly accurate, but there we go basically. So we've got a stack, 2 at, in fact let me get you down on that so you can see it a little bit better. Ooh, let's get you down there, let's get you zoomed in a bit. I can't, oh yeah, can I zoom you in anymore? There we go. Hopefully you can see that alright. Let's see if I can put my other lights on, make that. There you go, is that better? Right. So this is nice and rough, but you'll get an idea what we're going to do. So we've cut our 3 pieces of plastic like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this 2-pack epoxy to stick these together. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick that one on top of that one like that, and then we're going to stick that one on top of that one like that. Let's just I'll find a little scrap of cardboard or something, put that in there, and then we want something we can mix a little bit of this. Oh, in fact, I've got the proper mixer for it here. We don't need very much of this, so we'll just mix about a pea, smallish pea. And we're not going to need very, very much. There we go. Quite tricky to do much smaller quantities than that. Mix that up. Oops, there we go, nicely mixed. This is a reasonably fast drying one. I think it takes, it's not one of the super quick 5-minute epoxies. I think it does take about an hour, hour and a half to go off, which I prefer for stuff like this. It does give you that little bit of play time. Anyway, that's mixed, and all we want to do is take a piece of that. Oops, you can't see what I'm doing. Take a piece of that, we just spread some of the epoxy on like that, stick those two pieces together like that, take a little bit more of the epoxy, now I've stuck smooth to smooth, and in this part I'm just going to stick textured to textured. It won't really matter, but I'd rather have a smooth surface on the top for the next bit. So we'll stick that basically down like that, just squeeze that into place, and basically what we've got there is our that is going to be our adapter to allow us to fit one of these type of cartridges to this sort of head shell. As you can see, that will basically what we do now is once that's dried, before, in fact I'll show you my other one. This is one in proper Blue Peter fashion. Here's one that I made earlier. If we can see there, that's basically what you're aiming for. Now, I haven't actually done it in this instance because of how we're going to fit it to this this slightly different arm. What I would do is, once that's dried, I'll basically take the arm that we're working with and I will file the edges round so it actually fits inside the head shell there. I'll then just hold it in, spin it over, then mark with a pen or something that hole there. I can then drill with a little drill a hole, obviously where it would be on the back there, tap it out, and then I've actually got, using the original mounting hole, somewhere I can mount my my replacement cartridge like that. See, I've not done it in this instance because the arm that we're actually using, this arm, if you can see, it doesn't have that hole, so I'm going to use some strong 3M tape in this instance to hold that in place. But basically what we would do is, once that's dried, I said that's what we would do, you'd file that to its shape that it'll actually fit properly into the head shell. Then use a marker pen or a scribe or something to mark the whole position through. Take that back out, drill it, tap your hole, and then once you've done that and you're happy with the fit of it, it's literally just a case of taking a little bit more of that araldite, and as you can see there, just araldite in the head shell. There's a little step on the back of the head shell, that's why we cut the third piece short. And you basically just stick that cut out there to the step on the head shell, push it forwards, and again glue it down with a little bit of epoxy, and that will allow it to fit most of the old style like BSR head shells. It's cheap, it works quite well. It's certainly a damn sight cheaper than buying the proper adapters for these type of cartridges. So anyway, seeing as we'll leave that to one side to dry off, because I said that this is not a rapid setting epoxy, so that will take about an hour and a half or so to go off. And then I'll probably will file that one to fit. I mean, this is a scrap head shell, but I'll file it to fit that profile, and then I've got it for future use to fit to one of these cartridges. So what I think we should do, we'll get that disconnected. Yeah, we'll get that off there like that. You do have to be a little bit careful with some of these cheap cartridges when you're removing the connectors, because the pins aren't brilliant. I will say, I have on a couple of occasions, so you haven't been able to see that because I'm off shot. On a couple of occasions where I've been pulling the connectors off there, I've actually pulled a pin out. We've got away with it on that one, but you do have to be a bit careful with these. Like I said, they are like a cheap copy of a cartridge, so like I said, do treat them with a little bit of respect. Anyway, I'll zoom you out so you can see what we're going to do in the next bit. Oops. Okay, I'll get you up. So what I think we'll try and do is we're going to try and just lash up this head shell back up to the record player, connect up the amplifier, and actually see whether we can get a record to play. I suppose we're better lashing some form of volume control as well, just to see how much output we can actually get out of this. And then obviously in the next bit we'll actually try adding that little preamp circuit that I've built, which should obviously give us a boost in the output and give us the advantage of a tone control as well. Right, so what I will do, in fact, how shall I do this? We've got to disconnect all this so we can actually get it set back up. So I'm just going to pause you in a bit, and I'll get the record player back in, and we'll get going once we've actually got everything set back up. So back in a sec. Okay, I think we have everything we need here to have a little bit of fun. Managed to find my my 3M tape to hold the cartridge into the arm, and I found my my Wombles 45. Now this seems to be the only record that I possess that doesn't get me a copyright strike. At least it hasn't done so far. So we'll give that a try. I know Andy has the Filler Shave Twist, but so far I've got away with the Wombles. Right, I think the first thing we need to do is get that cartridge mounted in this head shell. So what we're going to do, well, first things first, what I have noticed is that the little rubber suspension on the end there, well, part of it's missing, and what is there has gone incredibly hard. Fortunately, I've got a scrap. This is the standard BSR style arm, and it shot. Unfortunately, the player it was in got crushed, and the armrest actually got shoved right through the arm there. If you can see, there's a hole in it. Bit of a shame really, because otherwise I would have probably actually used this arm, because it is a slightly nicer one, and it has the standard mounting there. But hey ho, you work with what you've got. But we can pinch the perfectly nice supple rubbers off this one. And it has got a pair, as I said, this one has one missing. But those are lovely and supple and like new. As where the one that's on here. Let's get that off there. Come on, off you come. Has gone all hard compared with, you can see. So we'll put these nice ones on. Like that. Just help, everything like this just helps with basically eliminate some of the noise, some of the rumble. And if we want to make this deck play as well as it possibly can, I think some new rubber suspensions on there will certainly help. One nice thing about this is it has got quite a nice dampened arm as well. Like I said, I'm not so thrilled with the fact I suppose I could drill a hole there, but the tape I'm going to use will be just perfect actually. Right, so what we need to do now, we need to get this cartridge mounted in there. Now I have already made this to fit this arm. You could I suppose stick some araldite in there and araldite it in, but the problem with that is if this cartridge ever fails, what you're going to do, you're going to break the arm getting it out. This 3M tape's actually great. It's strong tape, but it's actually designed for use, automotive use. If you've ever had like spoilers and things and plastic trim on your car, but generally speaking it's held on with this stuff. And what you can do, if you do have to release it, if you warm it as if you warmed the other side of the arm with a hairdryer, not your hot air rework station, just a hairdryer, it will actually soften this enough that you could get a screwdriver in there and just pick it out, pop it out. But what we'll do is we'll stick just a little piece of that on the back there. Now we're not going to peel that off just yet. We'll get the wires connected up. Now these do have a way around, the positives on the top and the negatives on the bottom. So if we remember this correctly, we want black to that side there, and then we want, I think we said yellow to that one, blue up there, and then finally red on that one there. Push that home, there we go. Right, all those are making contact, excellent. So basically that's our wiring. We'll pull that down the arm a little bit. And all we need to do now is peel off my tape. And we should be able to stick this in place. If you can get the tape to come on. There we go. Just got a little bit of tape on the back and go far forward as we can in there. So I didn't make this to fit, but push it down. And there we go. That's the. Then we've just got to dress the cabling up so it's not going to protrude. Push that in like that, and there we go. That's the modern cartridge mounted in that old head shell. And you can see it sits down just about the right height. That's why we need to add them few layers in there. Basically it's just to bring the height of the cartridge down to a sensible height, so when it's actually there it actually tracks on the record correctly. It's not, you know, right down like that, or it's not pulling up or anything. Right, so I think what we need to do now is we'll get this mounted into the actual motorboard. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it in, but I'm just going to bring the wiring straight back out just through the back there, so basically we can connect up the amplifier and what have you, and see if we can give it a play and have a little bit of a play about with it. Right, so we'll get that loose. Move that over there like that. We'll get the wires through. bring that down. We need to get that to it's actually quite tight in that hole. There we go. In fact, we'll just click that into position to hold it down while we secure that underneath, so we can put our other rubber grommet on. I may actually be tempted to perhaps wall that hole out a little bit to give that a little bit of play, because that felt really tight. But that's what we can look at, you know, improvement wise. I literally just want to hear the record player play today if we can. It'd be nice if we could get it to play, just to make sure that I'm happy with this, using this cartridge. And so we've got to play about with setting the weights and everything, because I want this to track reasonably light. It's never going to track as light as like a fancy top-end deck or anything, but there's nothing to stop us actually getting it to track quite nicely actually. Right, that should do for now. So what we'll do is we'll just drop that back, drop that, oops, that shows that I hadn't stuck my tape properly then, because that's dropped out. Perhaps I hadn't pressed my tape quite hard enough when I set that. I mustn't have. You do have to sometimes press it and hold it for a minute until it actually does go off. It's like a pressure contact, that tape. You have to really push it together for it to make its proper adhesion. That should have done it. That should have done us. Right, so that's set in there again. We've got the lead out wires for it here, so we can connect the little Velleman amp back up. In fact, what we might do is connect it up through a volume control. Shall we do that? What have we got kicking about? We can do that just as a quick lash up. What have we got here? It's a rotary pot, and it is... what's the value on it? Not sure what that one was. Let's have a look at this one. That's a 500k, that should do. 500k pot. I mean, this is not ideal, but it'll do for a test. Yeah, I don't know what that's actually designed for, but it should do just for a quick test. Now we need to get this connected up. And basically what we need to do, so somewhere midway, if we connect our hot side to one side, let's get a little Velleman amp in. That's our speaker side. Here we need to reconnect the speaker as well, don't we? What have I done with the speaker? There it is. Let's get that soldered back on. Did no one say anything about my soldering? It's not going to be left like this. This is literally just lash up standard. We're experimenting here. All this will be coming back off again and being done properly. Let's connect the other side of the speaker up. Okay, that's the speaker lashed back together. We've already got the power still on it. We're just going to connect this volume control between the cartridge and the input to see if we can control it a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to connect the hot output from the cartridge to the wiper on the volume control. So that's the first, that's the nice easy one. So we connect the hot side of the cartridge to the hot side, to the wiper, sorry, on the volume control. Oops. That needs a wipe. Fresh solder. Tin these up a little bit. And this is designed for PCB mounting, so it's not ideal, but I'd say it'll do for something just to do a quick test with. Come on, you take some solder, will you? The other two have. You take, there we go. Let's took a little bit. Oh, that's all it needs. Now we should be able to connect. So the red is the hot from the cartridge. That goes to the wiper. Yeah, that'll do. That's soldered on. Not neat, not pretty, but it doesn't have to be at this point. I need a couple of little scraps of wire now. Pull some off this, whatever it is. Got some snips or anything kicking about. Unfortunately, I left my box at a friend's house. I went over to do a little repair for him the other night, and I managed to leave my toolbox there, so I've only got what I had lying around on the bench to do this with. Slightly annoying. Right, that should be a couple of bits of wire. And what we need to do we need to connect the top of the track there to the hot side of the amplifier input. We then need to connect the ground from the cartridge to the other side of the wiper, and then to the ground side on the amplifier, and that should do us. That should give us a basic volume control. So let's connect that onto that. We'll have to solder. No, we haven't. So let's tin these wires up a bit. Bit on there. Bit on there. Stick that on there. And that can go to the that needs to go to the input on the amplifier. Oops. I really need a longer lead on my soldering iron as well. I have to move the station a bit closer, but that's tricky. Right, so then we need another wire which will go between there, the ground, and the ground on there. So let's just sort that out. I've got this piece of wire here that'll do. Let's just get this bit of what this has been used for in the past. Right, and I think we said that that yellow there should be our other ground. So we'll connect them on there. Excuse me. I'll solder those together. Like that. Those will go to the other side of the volume control. I'll try my absolute best not to touch the record player with the soldering iron, of course. Get on there. There we go. That'll do for a lash up. And finally, last but by no means least, we need to connect the other side of that, which I haven't stripped the end of the bloody wire. Damn. Where's my scissors? They'll have to do. Well, there's my glasses. That'll make life a little bit easier for me. There we go. We were looking for them before. Now, where are my... for some snips here, they'll do. Give that, oops, strip that off. Come on, strip. There we go. Only a little bit on the end. So this is literally just to lash up. Just to see if we can get this to play. Okie dokie. Tin that up and we can connect that to the ground side on the Velleman. That'll do. Oh, that's some shocking soldering, but it really doesn't matter for this. Okay. Let me take my glasses off so I can see again. Right, so basically what we've got the, as basically as it was wired up before, but now we've just got a little volume controlling circuit. Very shoddily wired in, but it should allow us to control the volume from this thing. What we will do, we'll power the motor up. Have we got enough sockets here? I might have to lose some of the light. Actually no, we don't need my earth strap plugged in because we're not working on computers today. And these don't really suffer from static damage, so we can unplug my wrist strap. We can plug that in there. Oops, where are you? There you go, in you go. Switch that one on. So that should be, let's just see, as you can see, that's the turntable working. Now if we connect my power supply back up to the amplifier, obviously unfortunately we're probably still going to get some horrible noise, although I have tried to switch off anything I can switch off, so it's still pretty bad, but you can hear there, that is working. Let's see if we can play a record. Oops. That's minimum volume. So the volume control is working. Right, let's see what the wombles will do. Hopefully we can play this. Let's try. That might be a problem. One issue we may have, I've still got to get a rubber. Oh, in fact, where's that one thing that I knocked up? It's too thick, but it'll do for testing. Stick that on there, stick the record on there. Hopefully this should work. So I've got to make a new mat for that, because it's got that spindle in the middle. Without a mat, the record won't actually fit. But hopefully this might work now. Let's try. So basically this is the cartridge driving the amp direct, and as you can hear, it doesn't exactly sound great, does it? I mean, volume wise, you've got plenty of volume. You've actually got enough volume. That's fully open. The hills of bonny Scotland, where the long Turn that down. Well, see, we've got absolutely no way of changing the bass or treble, although we've got actually quite a lot of volume there. As you can hear, it's very weedy and very thin, and that's where, oops, this comes in. Now this is the little 1 transistor preamplifier that I've designed. Got the circuit for it basically here. And all this is going to do is just going to give that little bit of extra input to it, and it will also allow us to alter the bass and the treble, give us a little bit more of a fuller sound coming out of it. And we should be able to make it sound quite a lot better than it does now. It shows that we've definitely got plenty of power in that little Velleman amp, even if it is as it is now, being underdriven. It goes fairly loud really. But basically that's going to be in the next instalment of this. In the next instalment of this, we'll have a look at actually putting this little preamplifier into the circuit, and I'll let you hear what it sounds like with that installed, and I'll go through basically how the circuit works. It is incredibly simple. As you can see, you know, there's like half a dozen components on there, but it does make a tremendous difference. Oh, we've actually got to the end of the record. I'll switch that off. But I mean, apart from the distortion and everything, the nice thing is that the deck seems to be playing, really playing at quite a nice speed. Go on, just for fun, let's just stick the other side on for a second. There we go. So hopefully next time you hear that, it will be a lot clearer. Like I said, we'll be able to control the bass and the treble on it. I don't really think we need that much more volume out of it. It's actually quite loud. This is more about giving it that little bit more of a richer sound to it really, and like I said, being able to actually vary the bass and the treble. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this little update on the project. So I'll say thanks for watching, and goodbye.